So the indie breakout movie Good Boy is hitting streaming platforms in a few days. I watched that movie. Should you give it a chance? Let's break it down. So I'm going to review and break down this movie as a film director. I'm going to go over stuff that I really liked. I thought that they did really well. And I'm also going to go into, what I would have done differently or what I think they needed to improve on. Now, Good Boy was a fantastic movie. This movie was very unique. It's something I haven't seen done before. So let's kind of break it down. Number one, the acting. The dog was absolutely fantastic. I make the joke that this dog was the best actor, the best acting I've seen out of all the horror movies that I've watched this year. I thought Indy did a fantastic job. The way that they were able to make him look scared, to make him look curious, he really had all these ranges of facial expressions that really made you feel for the dog. I'm a natural dog lover already, and just, putting him in these situations really kind of amped up the tension and the fear. So I thought, that was done fantastically. The rest of the actors, their faces are actually silhouetted and shadowed, so it doesn't draw away from, what Indy's going through. It really is told through the dog's POV, which I thought was really kind of unique. But the overall acting in the movie was fantastic. Indy really carries it. It honestly makes me want to, have a dog movie at some point. I think it'd be really cool. The way they did it was really, really well done in this movie. The other thing that I thought was really, really well done was the cinematography. This is an indie movie, so obviously you're not going to have high budget stuff. But the way that they had the cinematography, the lighting was really cool and unique. I'm a huge fan of lighting. We do horror movies, and this one wasn't really well lit. They really played with the shadows, which I thought was really, really good. I see all these movies now with like the Netflix look where everything's really lit really well. You kind of lose that, old school horror shadowy vibe of just using, taking away the light and playing in the shadows. And I haven't really seen it done really well, especially on the indie front, in a long time. And I thought this movie did really, really good job. The lens choice that they made, everything was kind of soft. It really felt kind of dreamlike. And I think they really nailed it, because it really was. There were times where, the blending of what Indy was seeing, there's some dream sequences in there. It gets like this dreamy vibe, almost sort of like a David Lynch style at some points. And I really, really liked it. It was very unique, because everything, again, you just see a lot of stuff with really bright lights, very flat lighting, and everything is very sharp. And this just really kind of went against that grain, and it was kind of reminiscent of older school horror movies, and I really, really liked that. The sound was something that I also thought was really well done. With indie movies, they struggle with sound design. It's very expensive. It's very hard to get really good sound. So when I hear really good sound design, I get really excited. I think it was just really, really well done. The creaks of the old house, the rain that was constantly hitting the house, what Indy's hearing, the whispers, and just how everything's kind of, progressing in this movie. The sound really kind of carried it and kept you immersed in this movie. And I thought it was really, really well done. There's not going to be a ton of like crazy pop scares. It is a slow atmospheric movie. So sound design is crucial for this movie. It needs to be locked in. I thought they did an absolutely fantastic job. So this was like a slow burn movie. If you're not a fan of slow burn movies, you might not like it too much. There's not a lot going on, but there are a few jump scares, and I thought the jump scares were executed really well. They didn't feel cheap, and a couple of them actually kind of got me a little bit. And so I really kind of liked that. It kind of kept the pacing and the build up. So the jump scares kind of, kept you at bay, because it is a really slow burn movie. But each jump scare kind of, vaulted you to the next act. So again, I thought the jump scares were really good. They're really well placed. They're really well timed. If you're not a fan of slow burn movies, this one might drag on a little bit for you. The first act I thought was really, really good and really, really solid. The opening hook was really good of this movie. It gets you into exactly what's going on immediately. It has, a punch to it. So immediately you're like, all right, like I'm invested in this movie. I'm invested in this story. The second act kind of drags on a little bit, but again, it's not too bad. This is a slow burn type of movie. This is what you're going to get from this movie. This is what they're trying to do. because they're building up until they get to basically that third act. The movie's only an hour and 20 minutes, which I also really, really like. I'm so tired of 2-hour movies in movie theaters. I really want the 1 hour, 20, 90-minute movies to come back, especially for horror. It's so easy to get into it and get out of it. Everything now seems like 2 hours long. Just watched the last Conjuring movie and it was like 2 hours long. I really feel like they could have cut 40 minutes off of that. So this one was lean and clean at the 90-minute mark, and I really like that. I wish more movies would go back to, the old school 90-minute horror movies. So that was the stuff that I liked. What would I change? So one exercise that I really like to do as a filmmaker is to kind of look at this and say, all right, if this was my movie, what would I change? What would I do differently? And with this one, there really wasn't a lot up until the third act. I thought they nailed a lot of stuff. I think my biggest thing would be with the screenplay. And I think if anyone's going to kind of, have a mixed review or a negative review about this movie, it's going to be on the third act. And I do think it is just a little bit of a writing issue. Again, this could have been what they were going for. This could have been the feeling that they wanted to get, the filmmakers wanted to get. And it's fine. Again, it's nothing bad. It's just a choice. So if I was making this movie, and again, I'm going to kind of go over this with no spoilers, I would have just changed the third act. They do such a good job of build up all the way through there. Indy does such a great job of acting. Everything's coming together. The payoff really just isn't there, and it kind of like leaves the movie flat, where I think you need to just have something where there's a little bit more reward for Indy, there's a little bit more reward for the audience, and I think that would have just put the cherry on top of an already really good movie. Again, though, I could totally see why the filmmakers did this, because maybe at some point you are the dog and the dog really can only do so much. They want to stay true to the theme of the movie, which was the dog, which is Indy, and maybe what they're going for is just to emphasize that Indy's a dog. He can't do everything. He's not Lassie. It's not over the top. This is a more grounded, realistic movie. But again, if I was doing it, I would probably just change up the ending just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of a reward for Indy and for the audience who goes on this awesome journey that they built up. But again, go see this movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It's super unique. We really got to watch unique movies. This is probably one of my top 5 movies I've seen this year. You should go rent it. It's coming out on video on demand in a couple days. It's horror done right. The atmosphere, the slow burn was done absolutely phenomenally. This deserves a watch. It's coming out on all platforms in a couple days. So go watch it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, guys.